Wyze. I haven't said that in so long. Am I even the same person anymore? Does this mean that I can finally say, win your zone? I am back! I'm back. Today's a good day, guys. So we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia, and more specifically the recent chapters, because there are a lot of things that I really want to talk about when it comes to the UA Traitor, Aoyama's character, and the future for My Hero Academia. Because the recent events in My Hero Academia has been kind of crazy, guys. I mean, not only is the UA Traitor reveal a thing, but we finally get to see Toru Hagakure's face. We finally get to see Class A's response to the UA Traitor, and there's one ginormous question that needs to be asked before you lay your head down to sleep. And that question is why haven't you subscribed? Why haven't you subscribed? You gotta like, comment, and subscribe right now, or you will never get chicken nuggets in a day of your life. Bye. My Hero Academia chapter 337 is titled A Disposable Life, where we continue with Deku finding out that Aoyama is a UA traitor. Guys, this is a really sad chapter because we learn more about Aoyama's past and why he became the UA traitor in the first place, while also understanding that All For One doesn't view Aoyama as any piece of value in the slightest, which makes it even worse because Aoyama does something in this chapter that I would have never thought he would ever do, but it makes sense because he wants to protect his family, which makes it even sadder the fact that Toru Hagakure just continues to confront him and make it seem like he's the worst guy in the world for doing something that 90% of everyone in the history of existence would do. So let's just go ahead and start from the top. The chapter starts off with us going back to the cave where All For One, Shigaraki, and the rest of the League of Villains should we even call them League of Villains anymore? And all of the bad people are at. And Toga was continuing the conversation with All For One on the idea that the difference between them is that All For One has friends to spare. Toga questioned him by saying, friends, huh? Well, aren't we screwed if one of your little friends get caught? But he obviously doesn't know who All For One is, because if he did, he would know that All For One doesn't care about anybody. But he responded to Toya by saying, say if you have a really cheap lighter that just went out. When his friends succeed, he praises them and says, yes, you can do it, guys. And if they fail, he might say, gosh darn it. But in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't really care, because the moment they fail is the moment he sets his sights on the next move to get to his goal. So his friends are less like friends and more like disposable lives. The chapter name is disposable. I got it. Now, as All For One is saying that the UA traitor is essentially a tool that's disposable for him, we see Aoyama's parents grab him and run away because they don't want him to get captured by the hero. Mainly because if they get captured, it's a higher chance of their death. But as Deku is chasing after Aoyama and his parents, the only thing that Aoyama is able to think about is his past, saying that even though he was born in a wealthy environment, because he was quirkless didn't really cause any less dismay or distress. And they just despise the idea of Aoyama being viewed as different from his peers. And because of that, along with the idea that they wanted to support Aoyama's dream more than anybody, they were more gullible in believing the rumors that you can get a quirk from somebody else. Okay. But it was free. It was All For One gave it to him for free. And one thing that you have to understand is that there's nothing in the world that is genuinely free, especially at the expense of having a quirk that doesn't really suit you well. I mean, the quirk was literally defecting his body throughout the entirety of his life. But even still, he very much appreciated his parents for going through the loop to try to make him happy, and he truly believed that his parents raised him in a great environment and very much supported his dreams. Well, all of that changed with the Fire Nation attacked. As Aoyama was approaching his last year in junior high school, he thought everything was going to be fine and dandy and that he was going to have the greatest life in the world using his quirk and enjoying his time with his family and eventually become a pro hero. But that's when, in the first time of the last 10 years, All For One sent a message to Aoyama telling him that he heard a rumor that All Might might be attending UA high school as a teacher, so Aoyama better make sure he gets into UA high. Now, this is a huge thing in and of itself, mainly because Aoyama's entire life could have been completely different. The entire story of My Hero Academia could be completely different if All Might didn't attend UA as a teacher, or if Aoyama didn't attend UA as a student. I actually want to know your thoughts on this idea. How would you like My Hero Academia if in the first arc of My Hero Academia, Aoyama actually failed and subsequently exploded, kinda, sorta, you know what I'm saying? And the entire story of My Hero Academia is about chasing All For One, the person who created the potential UA traitor in Aoyama, from the very first arc of the series. I think that would be interesting, although it's kind kind of sad that Aoyama would have died immediately without us knowing who he is. My point is that literally everything in the entire story of My Hero Academia could have shifted if he did not get into UA. Continuing on with the chapter, we find out that All For One was sending more messages to Aoyama, telling Aoyama to inform him when the class will be isolated, to give him the location of Beast Force, which is the training camp that they went to before the Camino fight. And the last order that All For One gave to Aoyama and his parents was to lure Deku outside of UA to some place where they can be alone. And what he did next just broke my freaking heart. Why did I do that? Feeling all the pain, resentment, and despair that he has from betraying his friends, but also understanding that he needs to do what he has to do to protect his family, Aoyama tells Deku that the note that he left to Class 1A when he went rogue made him fall into deeper despair once he found out that Deku was actually born quirkless, born just like him. But even still, they live two completely different lives, and Aoyama has to do something that he never would have ever considered doing before, and that in order to protect his family, he has to get away from Deku. So streaming to the top of his lungs, Aoyama activates his naval lasers, aim directly at Deku, close his eyes, and blast a light beam right at Deku with the intent of taking him out for All For One. Just seeing the hurt on Aoyama's face at the idea that he has to do that to protect his family hurts me. But the worst part about it is, Toru Hagakure made sure that he failed in his attempt to take out Deku, as she jumped in front of Deku and used her light manipulation to change the trajectory of Aoyama's naval laser blast. And to put lemons, limes, and every other piece of citrus fruit on the wounds of Aoyama, Toru looks at him in the eye. Toru, okay, hold up. She look at him. He looked at her at the tree behind her, but it's about to change. She tells him that they could have been killed time after time. And now all of Japan is all a mess, all because of Aoyama's actions. And with the smoke that's formed from the blast that was created from Aoyama's naval laser, along with her ability to refract light, Toru Hagakure reveals her face, questioning Aoyama, saying, "What was going through your head this entire time in school with us? Even living in the dorms with us?" But Aoyama couldn't say nothing. I'm so tired of this, yo. You want me to continue? I'll finish it. Don't come back, whoever you are. Stop coming out. Gosh. But Aoyama's parents, alright, they were trying to confess and let them know that, hey, it wasn't Aoyama's fault, it was all their fault, put the blame on them. But the moment they tried to explain what's going on further, Deku had already used his black quilt to capture them and take them back to UA to get interrogated by the police and the heroes. It's here that they were able to explain the situation further, that All For One gave Aoyama a quirk and effectively took over their lives. Now, 𝚲𝚘𝚎 actually came to a really big conclusion, which is still an open book because I want to ask you all what you think about this as well. He was saying that because Aoyama was given the quirk about 10 years ago, but the fact that he was given a quirk about 10 years ago and he's still alive, there's a higher possibility that he doesn't have the explosives in his body as Lady Nagant did when he gave her a quirk. So in Aoyama's case, if All For One were to kill him, he would have to have somebody go out and kill him, or he would kill him himself instead of Aoyama just exploding from the inside. But that still is a really big question that I feel like a lot of people should ask. And let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Is Aoyama going to die? I know many people over the course of my 2 years of being on YouTube has been asking me constantly, do I think that there's going to be a UA student that died? And well, honestly, Aoyama, being that he is the UA traitor and he's connected to All For One and he's about to essentially fail potentially, he is red flagged, so he might as well be a gang member. That's how red flagged he is. But there still is a chance that he survives some possible way. But I want to know your thoughts on if he's going to die and how you think he would die in the comment section below, especially because of what Aoyama's father said to 𝚲𝚘𝚎 and the heroes when it comes to him and his affiliation with All For One. Obviously, he pleads that he doesn't know anything about All For One because All For One wouldn't even tell him anything. The only thing he knows is that whatever All For One says, he has to do. Should they fail, he'll kill them. Should they lie about their accomplishments or anything that has to do with All For One's word, he'll kill them. And the traumatizing part about this entire thing is when 𝚲𝚘𝚎 asks, well, how do you know that he'll kill you? To which he said that All For One demonstrated what would happen if in fact they were to lie or were to not succeed in their mission. And he did this by going to one of his disposable friends and effectively killing them in front of Aoyama's parents. And I'm not gonna lie, although this is bad, this really makes All For One a really dope character to me. He he needs to die. I gotta see how he dies. Like, it's just crazy. But Aoyama's father was saying that even if you were to go to the police and tell them everything you know about All For One, this singular moment you step out of the police office, you're dead. No matter how far you go, no matter where you try to hide, All For One will always know exactly where you are and you will die. So this is more so fueling the idea that even though Aoyama was the UA traitor, he had to do what he had to do because his family would die. But even with this logic, the crazy thing about it is Aoyama doesn't even care about it anymore. Because when being confronted by Class 1A, the one thing that was constantly on his mind was Toru Hagakure's words. And when it was Aoyama's time to speak, all he could say was, your deaths could have very well been on my head. And yet, I found myself smiling alongside you all as if we were truly friends. Then, when we learned Midoriya was also quirkless, yet he faces the crushing task that is standing up to All For One, I despaired when I realized how pathetic I am compared to him. And rather than expressing my concern for Midoriya, I wallowed in my own misery, which sent me spiraling even deeper. And he ended it by saying, I am rotten to the core. But Deku decided to do his main character bit and say, Aoyama, why did you try to save Bakugo and Tokoyami at the raid, huh? Or the cheese? Did All For One tell you to do that too, huh? I don't think so. That was, I'll take that. But he continued by saying that he was mad at himself for not realizing that that was just an SOS. And it seems pretty clear that he isn't crying because he wasn't able to fulfill All For One's wishes. Deku mentioned that he knew of a particular hero, one who in her own right was a traitor that eventually got manipulated by All For One. But even still, deep down into her core, she never gave up. And she always had hope for the future. And the problem was that her spirit was just crushed for the temporary time. But doing wrong doesn't make you a villain for the rest of your life. Sit down. Sorry, I was getting a little too hyped. Deku then reaches his arm out and tells Aoyama to take his hand, which doesn't really make no sense because Aoyama literally is like strapped to a chair like this, but it's still, it's sentimental. And Bakugo remembers what Deku said in My Hero Academia chapter 336, which is that if nothing else happens, the heroes need to choose how they enter the fight. And hopefully there's a way that steers it in their favor. Meaning that in the future of My Hero Academia, Deku seemingly is going to be using Aoyama not in a traitorous way or in a way that's going to be going against All For One, because in all respects, All For One would easily sniff that out and kill him, but try to find out how to use Aoyama in a way that he can survive, but also get the upper hand on the villains. And Bakugo understands that that is one thing that Deku was thinking about deeply in his mind as he is trying to save Aoyama. But he is in fact trying to save Aoyama. As he reaches out his hands and asks Aoyama to grab it, he looks at Aoyama's with tears on his eyes and says, you can still be a hero. I wish somebody could tell me that I can be a hero. Matter of fact, you can be a hero. You can be a hero if you subscribe to the channel, post notification bells on, and watch this video next. We get sold every single day.